This is the good life.
You wanted to discuss what goes into our line of work. So walk us through the whole process. Like a client emails you.
Client emails me, I get back to them. There's probably like 4 or 5 emails going back and forth. When they get to the studio for the headshot, I actually ask them what they're trying to project in this headshot, like something fun or something professional or trustworthy or whatever. So we discuss that. And then I take their photo and I do different angles, standing, sitting, to give them a variety. So then they look through maybe about 20 to 30 photos, give them options. And then from there, they will select whichever one represents their brand the best.
Right.
And then I do the touch-ups, which includes, like, for women especially, like the smoothing of the skin and under eye circles. For men, it could be whatever. If they broke out that morning, I'll fix that.
I've worked with you on this before too. You don't just take the photo. You actually have like a conversation with them. We did a shoot together where you did headshots of a whole company. First of all, we got there, we scoped it out for like an hour to figure out what was best for the brand.
Like which
the overall
background.
feeling. And the background's important. And granted, Yeah. But
we're working on it.
But when we're looking around, we're looking at what best represents the brand as a whole. Because if you just get a normal plain background, I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times I've seen businesses with just like a white background.
Yes.
And it looks like a passport photo.
Yes.
And if that's what your brand is, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if your brand is creative, if it's personable, if it's warm and welcoming, your photos and video have to represent that.
With the company we're doing work for, they're custom home builders.
So not cheap.
No.
Not only do you need to represent what the brand is going for visually and emotionally with their clients, but then you also have to step that up one more level and say, okay, we are a luxury brand. We need to appear that way.
Yes.
So that's just in the first hour before anyone steps in before your camera.
Yes.
That's all the stuff that's going through your head.
Yes.
And then we're talking it out, planning it out. And then you bring the CEO in and said, okay, how do you feel about this? Because if you would have just said, here's where you're gonna stand, you would have come off as pompous.
Yes.
I think taking the customer's ideas and considerations and their own feelings into the whole branding aspect.
I have no other choice but to do that because I'm trying to show their side, their personality, their brand, not mine.
As much of it as it's our shoot, we have to worry and totally consider what the client wants. That's just the very beginning.
Previous backgrounds, I mean, there was nothing wrong with them, but it was just so like, oh, it's just gray and sparkly. There was no dimension to it. Like it looked like a cutout. I don't even know if it was a cutout or not, like a green screen. No, we're not doing that, and I like that you were there with helping with the lighting. Different varieties. So we gave the women an opportunity to, flip their hair forward and back, and like check their makeup.
I also noticed how you communicated with them. You felt them out as soon as they got in line. Like, do they want to be jokey? Do they want to be more serious? Do they want the high end? Do they want to be the jokester? Because one guy came over like the jokester.
Oh my God, hysterical.
And you played with that. Because of that, you were able to get more emotion out of them, more of their personality.
Yeah, but it's like you have to have a feel for somebody's personality almost instantaneously, which I think is somewhat of a talent that I kind of, figured out that I have throughout the years of working with people. Be in the moment with them and be like, okay, how nervous are they? What can I do to make them feel better? Because that's going to show up in the photos. If you just plop them on the chair and be like, smile, that's, you're going to have...
It never comes off well. Now, again, everything we've discussed so far is before you actually hit the shutter button.
Yeah, so it's been like, an hour and a half?
So then you start shooting, and shooting is probably the fastest thing of the entire process. After you're done shooting, you're not just done.
No.
You can just leave. You can just be done with the process.
Well, I'm done right there that day, but then I have to go home.
But I noticed what you did was you hung around a little bit and you talked with them a little bit. You made them feel good about themselves after the shoot. The other thing about that is then you're getting a feel for them afterwards. Because I think anyone who comes in front of the camera who's not really used to being in front of the camera is usually a little nervous. But at the end, reassuring them, if I thought there was a problem, I'm going to reshoot it.
Right. And I also gave them an opportunity for a secondary location. So just to make sure that they're comfortable with the first shot that we did, and in case they weren't, here's option B.
Bingo.
So I want to give them a lot of choices.
Dude, like when you go home, you download your images.
Okay.
Do you back them up?
Yes, of course. I back them up in 2 different places before I even touch the cards to format them, because hard drives fail, computers fail, so you got to have it backed up in 2 to 3 places. And then the culling process starts. You go through the
What's culling?
Culling is when you go through the photos and you delete the blinkers or the blurry ones. Giant smile with their eyes closed that I know they're not going to find flattering, so I delete all that. And then I bring it into a program where I run it through like just the general like basic color correction.
Right.
And then I have the final, the not final files, the pre-final files. So those are the options that they get to choose from for the final edit.
Okay, so you clean it up enough so they can see something that's not just like raw camera footage.
Yes, like the shadows like falling wrong or,
Right,
but
right.
which headshots is kind of different. But especially like if it's like a day where you're running around and you have no control over the lighting.
Correct.
You need to have a lot of color correction, shadow highlight correction, stuff like that.
So there you go. It's a lot goes into this, even before you hit the trigger, and a lot goes into it after.
Yep.
It takes a lot of work to make things look natural. I don't want people to think like we're complaining about this.
No,
like I love every step of that process.
Yes.
I think it's fun.
But we
it's
just
nice
want
to
people
educate.
to understand how long it all takes. That's
Yeah.
all. Yeah, I'm not complaining.